This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about issues with your pool skimmer. If you're not getting a lot of debris pulled in, or if you notice it's not running correctly, these tips should help you to get the skimmer operational to its fullest ability, because the skimmer does serve a really good purpose for your pool, and I'll go over that as well here in today's podcast. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. I've had a couple Infinity Edge pools over the years that were built without skimmers. Of course, you want to have that look of that Infinity Edge pool. And besides that, the way the pools sometimes are designed is that all the debris will go over the spillway off the Infinity Edge into a basin, and that's why these builders don't bother putting a skimmer in. It also is because the water is not going to be flowing towards the skimmer, but flowing over the Infinity Edge. And I get it, I understand that for aesthetic purposes that looks really nice, but the skimmer, in my opinion, even for an Infinity Edge pool, which a lot of them do have skimmers by the way, does play a vital role in the pool care. The #1 role that it does play is it really will help with the surface debris of the pool. It's not really a big thing to have the pool dirty, I guess, but it is nice to have the pool clean, or as clean as it can get with the skimmer working, because otherwise that debris starts to get soaked and saturated with water. Then it falls to the bottom, making the pool even messier. So if some of that debris can be eliminated on the surface before it falls to the bottom, it's better for the chemistry of the pool, it's better for the look of the pool, and it's really nice to have something that helps remove debris from the pool during the week while you're not there servicing the pool. If you're a homeowner, it's nice to have a cleaner surface. Now, the skimmer doesn't really pick up everything in the pool. As you know, if you're a pool owner, you know that there's still going to be leaves that fall to the bottom, and there's still going to be leaves that don't get pulled into the skimmer. There's a lot of different reasons why this may be happening. Now, in a perfect world, the flow going around the pool would be going in, a clockwise direction. Let's say the skimmer located in the deep end would pick up all the debris, and there'd be nothing in the pool that would go to the bottom or be stuck on the sides. But in reality, most pools have a lot of dead spots. The return jets don't necessarily push the debris far enough towards the skimmer, and the skimmer itself a lot of times doesn't have that pull to pull the debris into it. Now, there are a few things that you can do to increase the likelihood of the pool surface looking pretty good, and that is having the return jets directed in a circular fashion, or if it's a rectangle pool, I should say, just have them directed to where the debris is being pushed from the one side to the shallow end, from the shallow end onto the other side to the deep end, or wherever the skimmer is located. So there should be a pattern where it goes around clockwise, or I guess counterclockwise would work as well, where the debris is being pushed towards the skimmer, and that gives it a little bit more ability to pick up the debris. But again, most pools aren't designed specifically that way, and it's hard to get the water jets to direct it in the direction it needs to go. The second thing you can do is make sure that the skimmer is optimized for the most power to pull in the debris into the skimmer, and this can be done in a couple of ways. The primary thing to make sure is that the pool filter is clean and optimal. Typically, I clean the filters in March or April, and then again in October, September, October. In my area, we clean the filters every 6 months. Some areas you may clean it every 4 months. If you have single cartridge filters, you may be doing that every month. But regardless of how often you clean the filters, having the filter working optimally for the flow is really critical. If you have a pool filter that's dirty, and you've seen this on your route, let's say you have a D filter, the PSI is at 30 PSI, you'll take the skimmer lid off, and of course there'll be really no flow at all in the skimmer because the filter pressure is too high. Once you backwash that filter, you're going to see a tremendous flow increase, water being pulled into the skimmer. And this is, of course, a really great way to make sure that the skimmer is working properly, pulling in debris, is having a clean filter to give that pool the maximum flow. A lot of times, if you upgrade your filter, I had a pool that had a 36 square foot D filter. It was an older pool. We put in a 420 square foot clean and clear plus filter, and the flow increased like 1,000%. It was just amazing. And the amount of debris that was pulled into the skimmer increased by like 90%. So it was a really amazing change. So a clean filter is definitely something that's a factor in the flow of the pool. The second thing you can check is the weir gate. So every skimmer has a weir gate. Basically it's a piece of plastic about 8 inches wide, I guess 6 inches tall, I guess. And this is a flap that actually closes when the pool turns off. This is supposed to go up and kind of close off the skimmer so that when you're using the pool, let's say you're swimming in there and the pool's off, that weir gate is going to go in the closed position and stop debris from going out of the skimmer. A lot of times if the pool doesn't have the weir gate, you're going to notice a lot of leaf debris right underneath in the deep end or wherever the skimmer's at, with where it falls back into the pool and sinks to the bottom when the pool turns off. So it's really important to have that weir gate intact and operating. So check the skimmer for that to make sure that it's there and that it actually closes and opens. That actually helps pull in debris, by the way, because when it is in the open position, it kind of acts as something that accelerates the water towards the skimmer. I mean, it's not a tremendous amount of increase, but without it, all the debris just goes right past the skimmer without going in. With the weir gate, the debris is actually pulled into the skimmer, and you can actually watch it and see it happening. If you have a Hayward skimmer, you could tell if you have a Hayward skimmer by just taking the skimmer lid off and looking at the lid. And Pentair and Hayward make skimmers, so you'll see an H for Hayward, and you'll see Pentair with their logo on their skimmer baskets, or skimmer lids, I should say, which means that skimmer is that brand. And then Waterway is a popular one here, but the Hayward ones usually are the older skimmers, larger, and they have a large basket in there. And I find that a lot of times when I take over a pool with a Hayward skimmer, they'll have this B37 basket. I think that's the number, B37. And they're actually missing the B38 circular skimmer weir. And these particular skimmers don't actually have weir gates in them. So just be careful that if you have a Hayward skimmer, it actually has the weir as this floating device that goes into the basket. It's kind of a unique skimmer. There's a few here on my route in California that I've had over the years. And without that B38 circular skimmer that goes in the B37 basket, no debris gets pulled into that skimmer. So just be aware of that fact that a lot of the times that skimmer needs to have that circular weir. Other skimmers should have the weir gates in front of it to help pull debris in. What makes this a little bit of a problem here is that a lot of suction cleaners are connected at the skimmer, which means that the suction is being shared by your suction cleaner as well as the skimmer. Now, I did create a basket. It's called the Hole-in-One Basket. You can find that on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. If you go down to the bottom, you'll see the Hole-in-One Basket on my homepage. And it's just a skimmer basket with a manufactured hole in the bottom where you put the suction cleaner hoses through it and connect it to the skimmer. But the problem is, of course, that helps eliminate debris getting stuck in the regulator valve in the skimmer or getting pulled into the pump basket. But the main problem with a suction cleaner connected at the skimmer is that you're going to lose a lot of the skimming power. You're also going to prop the weir gate open all the time, which means debris will fall back in the pool when the pool turns off. So it is a little problematic when you have a cleaner connected to the skimmer because the surface skimming is going to be affected as well as the weir gate operation. And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. To be honest, the best setup that I like, which is not popular in my area of California, is a pressure slide cleaner with its own booster pump. And then you have the skimmer operating at full capacity, getting the leaf debris with the Polaris cleaner, Polaris 280 on the bottom, getting the leaf debris off the pool. And ideally, that's the optimal pool configuration that I found. But these pressure cleaners are not popular in my area, and so a lot of times you're going to have a suction cleaner sharing the power of the skimmer either at the skimmer itself or at a side port. Even if you have the cleaner at the side port, you're still diverting a lot of the suction that would go to the skimmer for that automatic cleaner to move. And then, of course, to make matters even worse is the variable speed pumps that are working at low to medium speeds out there and not really circulating the pool and pulling the debris into the skimmer. So there's a lot of factors working against the skimmer, even if you have it configured with the weir gate, with the filter clean, and with the suction going to it. If you have the main drain off and all the suction going to the skimmer, with a suction cleaner connected at the skimmer or side port, you are reducing the flow right there as well. So it's really not optimal, but it's kind of how things are set up. And to get a skimmer working completely, you have to have no cleaner in the pool and have everything set up to pull it in. My favorite device for the skimmer that no longer exists for whatever reason, I'm not sure if the company was run correctly, which I don't think it was, otherwise they'd still be in business, was the Skim Doctor 2.0. This was a really nice attachment that goes on top of the skimmer basket that really accelerated the skimmer and allowed it to pull in a lot of water, even with a suction cleaner connected to the side port or a variable speed pump. It would just accelerate the water flow. But unfortunately, that company seems to be out of business and that product is gone. The closest thing that I've found to it is a product on Amazon called the Cyclone 6-inch, and this is basically a thing you put on top the skimmer basket that kind of helps accelerate the flow, but it's nowhere near what the Skim Doctor 2.0 was doing at that point. Unfortunately, products like that go out of business, or companies go out of business, and a good product is lost to the industry. What you can do to supplement your skimmer, so if you have a suction cleaner working in the pool and you really don't like all the surface debris on there, by the way, if you get a bouncing type cleaner like the G3 by Zodiac or the Ranger, I guess I would say Creepy Crawly, but they're not making those anymore. The bouncing of that cleaner actually knocks debris down to the bottom of the pool. So the reason why it's bouncing, yes, it's bouncing because that's kind of how it moves across the pool. But the secondary effect of the bouncing is that debris will actually be knocked down to the bottom and be vacuumed out. So those bouncing cleaners are actually pretty good of eliminating surface leaf debris. You'll notice if you have these on your pool route that there's not a lot of debris on the surface, and that's because the bouncing will actually knock them down to the bottom. But if you have a geared cleaner, which is like most of the pools now, the Atlas or the Max cleaner by Polaris or the pool cleaner by Hayward, they don't bounce. And so the leaves don't go down to the bottom. And the problem is they stay in the surface, and with less suction, they don't get pulled into the skimmer. So there are things you can do to supplement your skimmer. The first thing I would recommend is a solar power surface cleaner. Now, the first problem you're going to run into are the cleaner hoses, because they'll hit the cleaner hoses and then they're not going to have the full coverage of the pool. That's really easily solved because you can just get 3 hose weights and put them on the cleaner hoses in strategic positions. I put one usually right before the canister, another one a few hose lengths down, and then one more where it's coming out of the water, but it's still under the water, and that sinks it down. So this will sink the hose down about 6 inches or 10 inches, and then the surface cleaner can actually clean the complete surface of the pool. So having a suction cleaner in there with one of these solar surface cleaners is not a huge drawback with the hose weights on there. I think the Beta still makes the best solar surface cleaner, and that those are pretty reliable and effective. So that's a great way to supplement the skimmer, is by having the solar surface cleaner in the pool while the pool is running, or when the pool is off. It's going to work because it runs off of solar power and it has a battery, and it pretty much will clean the pool day and night during the season. Another option would be the pool skim, and this is the device that connects a return jet and creates a secondary skimmer. Highly, highly effective with pools that have a lot of debris in them. If the skimmer basket is being filled up midweek, or every few days you're emptying that basket out, you're probably a good candidate for either a solar surface cleaner or the pool skim, which is a great device also to get the leaf debris out and kind of relieve the skimmer of that debris. Whatever you can do to help remove the debris before it gets to the skimmer is really helpful. And as the skimmer basket gets filled up with debris, the amount of suction and the amount of debris it picks up diminishes, kind of because the water's not flowing as it used to flow as it starts to get filled up. And you'll notice that if you do have a pool that has a lot of debris, by midweek when the skimmer basket is halfway filled, the skimmer is not as effective. What about having two skimmers in your pool? A lot of pools are built with two skimmers because the thought is having two skimmers is going to maximize the skimming ability and it's going to provide you double the capacity. I found that pools with two skimmers aren't really any better. In fact, sometimes they're worse because one skimmer will have more power than the other. They're really not always equalized. And to me, I don't really see the point of having two skimmers, especially if one of them is always weaker and doesn't work as effectively. Granted, I had a pool that had two skimmers that was highly effective. They were both in a deep end, and this pool did get a lot of debris, but they had two separate filters for each of the skimmers. So it was one of those things where it was actually plumbed in correctly to where both skimmers had full power. It was kind of a pain to charge the D filter because I had to turn one line off. And to get the other filter to have the D, it was complicated, but it was plumbed in to where each skimmer had their own actual filtration system, which was nice to have because they both had the full power. But I always find that one skimmer is weaker than the other in a lot of cases, and it's not super effective. And it's a pain too if you want to turn one skimmer off, if there's no valve there to turn it off. And it's something that a lot of people think is going to maximize their skimming ability, when I really don't think it makes a huge difference. In my opinion, what maximizes the skimming in the pool is basically having a clean filter, the weir gate, and having the return jets pointed towards the surface to push the debris towards the skimmer. But as I mentioned, there are other things you can do. You can get the solar surface cleaners, you can get the pool skim, you can also trim the trees around the pool, whatever you can to reduce the leaf debris, to lessen the leaf debris getting in the pool really does help the skimmer. And of course, skimming the pool with a leaf rake as much as you can to get debris out also helps. But really, in reality, there's not a perfect system to get the leaves into the skimmer and out of the pool. There's going to be leaves falling to the bottom, and that's why it's really important to have a automatic cleaner in the pool to get those leaves that fall to the bottom, so that the pool has that clean, swim-ready look all week long. And if there's one or two leaves on the side, not a big deal. It's just one of those things where the skimmer is a really important component, but rarely are you going to find a pool where the skimmer is operating at its full potential. There's been a few that I've found where the pool skimmers are great. In fact, one of my oldest pools that I used to have had this gigantic manhole cover skimmer. It was like literally the size of a manhole, and in there was this giant basket. I don't even know if you can get a replacement for it, but a lot of the old skimmers have like a little tether ball on top. If you have an old pool, you'll see it. It's weird why they would do that, but I've had a pool before with a really old skimmer, and it was a threaded tetherball type thing that goes on there to catch the debris. And my thought was, this is going to get clogged up instantly, and it did get clogged up instantly every week. Then there were the older pools with the tiny little baskets that are like, square baskets that are the size of your hand. Really ineffective as well. But this one had this gigantic basket in there, and the cover, I don't even know what kind of skimmer it was. The lid was like the size of a manhole cover. But I remember it because it was one of the only skimmers that I thought was pretty effective out there. If you're looking for other podcasts, you can find us by going to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, there's a podcast icon. Click on that, and that'll be a drop-down menu of over 1,900 podcasts for you to listen to. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.